go back for a moment to our original page design and just check in. The next thing I want to do is to create the borders that are around these pictures. So they're kind of a picture frame for each of the images. And because they're exactly the same, I actually could create one style and apply that same style to all 4 of these. That's a place where class styles are very handy because class styles, unlike ID styles, class styles can be applied as many times as you like on the same page. So let me switch back, just click on the tab to switch from one page to another. And let's create a new style that is a class style. Remember, a class style has to start with a period. And I'm going to call this frame because I'm going to use it to create a picture frame. Click OK. Now, if I want to create a frame, what I really want to create is a border. So if you click on the border category, you see again I have the same for all option. So I can create a solid border, and you'll see there are a number of different kinds of borders you can create. In this case, I want a solid, thin border, and I want that border to be the same color as the green in my banner. So I'll just use the eyedropper to lift that color. Click OK. Now, I won't instantly see this applied. It's a class style, so I'm going to have to apply it myself to this page. The other thing I want to do, though, is to add padding and margin to this. So let's first put the border, and then we'll add some padding and margin to that style. I want to add that border around the image and the text below it. And the easiest way to do that is to add a div around both and then apply the class style to that div. So I'm going to split the screen again to make sure I'm selecting the right thing. And if I click and select the picture, and I hold down the Shift key, I can click and select both of these images. Remember, this text is really an image. And when you choose the div option, you may not have noticed, but at the top it says Wrap Around Selection. So because I've selected both of those images, this div is going to be inserted around both of them. And I have a class option here as I create a div, so I can go ahead and apply that frame class as I create this div. And now I can also give this div an ID. So let's call this frame 1. Now let's select the next 2. Insert the div. It's going to wrap around the selection. We're going to apply frame, and we'll call this one frame 2. And you see, as I'm creating these, they're automatically getting the green frame around them. Select, apply the frame, frame 3, and finally, call this one frame 4. So I now have, let me go back to design view so you can better see. I now have frames around all 4 of these image sets. And what I want to do next is to add some padding to the frame so that I get a little bit of breathing room between the image and the frame itself. So I can simply go back and double-click on Frame to edit the style. And remember, margins and padding are in the box category. And here's something we'll look at again in the next lesson, but as a general rule, just keep this in mind. Padding goes on the inside of an element, margin goes on the outside. So if I want to add space around the outside of this frame, I'd want to add margins. If I want space inside the frame between the picture and the edge of the frame, then I want padding. So let's go ahead and add 10 pixels of padding. And when I apply, you'll see instantly I get padding inside the frame. And visually, when Robin saw this, she said, you know, actually, you should have a little more space below the image than you do above the image. This is like a mat around your picture. So I can change the padding to be different on each side. If I remove the same for all check, I could make the bottom padding 20 instead of 10. And watch when I apply, you see that extends down a little bit. Okay.